Good morning, academic frontiers of COVID-19 era. I presume you are doing well. You're most welcome to today's tutorial session. We are looking at letter of complaint, a letter that complains about something. And by way of objectives, we are looking at reviewing features of nonfiction and fiction writing. We're also going to look at the features and the layout of a formal letter. And then we'll finally sample a letter of complaint, examine features of sample letter, and then eventually we'll write one. By the way, I'm in your classroom at the moment. All right, let's zoom into action. Okay, so a quick recap. Fiction and non-fiction writing. We have said that fiction writing often has to do with something that is imaginary. It is coming from someone's mind directly. And sometimes you have reference to something that is already happening, but the basics is that it is purely fictional from someone's mind and may not necessarily be happening. Again, for non-fiction writing, we are saying that it is often based on reality, it is factual. So let's look at some of the differences. We read fiction writing often purposely for pleasure, but then for non-fiction writing, we are doing so to learn. The purpose of fiction writing is to entertain. The purpose of non-fiction writing is to inform or persuade. Fiction writing makes use of heavy colloquialism. I believe we are very familiar with that term now. Non-fiction writing often has little or no colloquialism at all. The fiction is often based on the imaginary, as we mentioned earlier, but then non-fiction is often factual and true account of what has taken place. For style, we are looking at fiction writing often being deductive in regards to whatever the information they want you to have. But for non-fiction, it is often straightforward and you are able to deduce or you're able to tell whatever they are trying to tell you right away without having to do any analysis whatsoever. Again, for fiction writing, they make use of text features, but in a very light sense. It's not as heavy compared to that of non-fiction writing. You will notice that we have pictures, especially illustrations in stories that are for children, but when it comes to that of adults, you don't see some of these features. When you come to non-fiction, you're seeing pictures, you're seeing graphs, you're seeing captions, diagrams, and what have you. Again, you will notice that fiction stories are often about deeply interior concern. That is something that is internal. And so you're talking about someone's inner troubles, inner issues. But then you would realize that non-fiction, on the other hand, deals more with the things we see around, the things that are worrying the environment and all that. That is not to say that fiction writing doesn't deal with some of these things, but then they do so in a certain subtle way that requires some form of analysis before you be able to arrive at that. And then fiction writing is read in a certain order. That is actually as a result of how it is presented. You often see the plot following a certain order. So we see rising action, that is beginning, rising action, climax, falling action, and eventually you look at the denouement or the resolution. But then with non-fiction writing, because of the use of subheadings, you are able to shuffle the issues around anyhow, provided that you have a very solid subheading that speaks to the content of whatever you want to talk about. So in fine, that is basically about fiction and non-fiction text differences. Examples are as follows. So for non-fiction, we are looking at informational text, that is encyclopedia, the textbooks we use, field guides, and what have you. And then we have what we call the literary nonfiction. Literary nonfiction in the sense that sometimes we import some features of literary writings into them, and so we end up treating them as literary nonfiction. That is to say that we have imported some aspect of literariness, if you like, into those writings. So though they are nonfiction, they have some aspect of literariness in them. And then for fiction, we have drama, poetry, short stories, myth, legends, and what have you. So that is basically about the distinction between fiction and nonfiction writing. Now to letter itself. Now, features and layout of a formal letter. We want to look at the features in three broad areas. We are looking at language, content, and what? Layout. For language, formal letters don't encourage the use of colloquial expressions. Again, I would want to believe that you are very familiar with this one. And they make use of register appropriate diction. So whatever the area you're trying to address in your formal letter, if you're writing to someone in the health fraternity or someone in government, you are advised you're going to have to use terminology that pertain to these areas of operation, and that will make your letter more formal. It is impersonal and it makes use of polite tone. So you're going to reduce the use of expressions like I. So we are looking at also the case of you reducing the use of active verbs. And then polite in the sense that whoever you're writing to probably is of a higher status than you are. So you are not supposed to use words that will signal disrespect. And then finally, we make use of complex sentences in the case of letter writing, formal letter writing. Complex sentences in the sense that they often highlight more formality. Contractions and abbreviations are supposed to be avoided. So we are not doing isn't, shan't, and what have you in formal letters. Again, we are supposed to, as I mentioned earlier in relation to politeness and impersonal use of the language, we are supposed to limit the use of active verbs and in first person personal pronouns. We are also supposed to avoid the use of informal discourse markers, such as by the way. So you are not supposed to, in effect, use the phrasal kind of discourse markers. So instead of saying, for instance, to begin with, maybe firstly it's more appropriate, even though I don't subscribe to those numeral kind of discourse markers. So research more on the ones that are appropriate and then incorporate them in your writing for a very beautiful piece. For content, your letter is supposed to have the traditional five-part essay, that is introduction, body, and conclusion. Introduction is supposed to be just a paragraph, and then the body is supposed to be about 3 paragraphs long. You're able to go beyond that, but you're advised not to have less than that. And then we are supposed to have a conclusion of a paragraph. Issues are set and straightforward. So here you're not going to beat about the bush. It's a formal letter. Whatever it is, you go straight forward at it and then you discuss it. A minimum of 3 issues constitute 3 paragraphs in the body are to be treated. You have mentioned that. Then each issue or concern should be adequately treated within a paragraph. So whatever you're talking about, make sure you have fully discussed it as one of the key features of paragraph development is adequate development. So you go ahead and you do exactly that. For what do we call it, the layout, we usually have what we call the writer's address, that is whoever is writing to the person, and then that is followed by the date, and then we have the recipient's address, followed by salutation, heading, introduction, body, conclusion, subscription, and then the subscription comprises what we call the valediction, signature, and full name. So valediction is when we use the expression yours faithfully or yours sincerely. If it is someone that you know and you have addressed in the introduction, so you have addressed in the salutation as say Mr. Boadi-Manu, then for your valediction, you're going to talk about yours sincerely, but if you simply address the person as Sir, Madam, then you're supposed to use yours faithfully. Heading an IGCS exam is actually negligible. You are not supposed to bring it in that exam. And then again, in the exams, you're also not required to, what do we call it, enter the addresses of the people you're writing to. But in real life application, you're supposed to make sure you have captured all these things. And then again, hitherto, the arrangement of the addresses, you would have the writer's address positioned at the right-hand corner at the top, and then the recipient to be followed at the left. But modern trends require that everything is arranged at the left. All right, let's move on. So here is a sample letter of complaint. You want to read it and then based on this deduce how it appears. All right, so we have the addresses over there. It's a bit compressed, but let's make do with it. We have the address of the writer, followed by the dates, and then we have that of the recipient, followed by the salutation and the heading. I'll try and read through quickly. It said, I'm writing today to complain about a humiliating encounter at your premises on June 12, 1985. I sent one of my able staff to come and service a malfunctioning photocopy machine of our company and was met with the most disdainful treatment ever. Our appointment for the servicing was scheduled at exactly 2 p.m. on that day. My staff arrived at your premises 15 minutes to time. She got there only to realize your office was not open. She waited for about 30 minutes and called all the numbers boldly embossed on a gigantic billboard, but unfortunately, there was no one to pick a call. Eventually, someone walked in wearing your company's overall with the name tag Sammy. He bypassed my staff without any pleasantry formalities. My staff attempted to initiate a conversation, but he would not look her, neither would he respond to her. Your worker, Sammy, emerged from your building after 30 minutes of being inside, only to come and sit on the bench in front of the office to take his breakfast. It was after he had finished his breakfast that he really asked, "What is your business here?" Without waiting for an answer, he added, "Just leave the machine here and go. I'm sure we have the details." My worker, zombishly, walked out of your premises to the office of next years. I consoled my worker and entreated her to ignore the situation. I drove to your premises by 5 p.m. to pick up our machine only to discover that it has not been moved from where my worker told me she was asked to leave it. Though angry, I calmly asked this Sammy why our machine was still out and obviously not attended to, and his response was unsavory. He blurted, "My friend, if you think you are in a hurry, carry your machine elsewhere for repairs." At this juncture, I flared up and told him my peace of mind and then drove off. I am by this letter demanding an immediate refund of my service fee, an unqualified apology from the staff of yours, without which I will be forced to initiate an appropriate legal action against your firm for emotional and psychological abuse of my staff and myself. Yours faithfully, signed Dr. Pepple Peppling Siao, Chief Executive Officer. All right, so looking at this letter, it meets all the conditions of a formal letter. First, we have the writer's address, we have the date, we have the recipient address, we have the salutation, we have the heading, and then we have introduction, and we can count actually 3 paragraphs in the body, all talking about 3 aspects of the same issue. And then finally, we have the conclusion, and then we have the subscription, which involves the validation, the signature, and the full name of this person we are talking about. So let's go and see what we can deduce by way of features of a letter of complaint from this sample that we have studied. So in essence, the letter is to express displeasure about a service or a product. Finally, it normally features the day, dates, and places of the encounter. Again, it normally features who did what to you in the case of a person and how they did what to you. Sorry about that. In the case of a product, the emphasis may be on the variation between what the appearance of the product or the function of the product is as against the reality. So, assuming that Anna said that whatever she was selling is supposed to be able to trim the hair in your nose. And then you go and buy this product only to realize that it's unable to do exactly what they said. Then you will have a recourse to do what? Complain. So you also buy, for instance, an iPhone X or something, and you are told that it has one of the slickiest surfaces ever. And then you go get it and you realize that it has no correlation with the advertisement they did, and you have a recourse to complain to whoever sold that to you. Again, the issues are often chronological, arranged in a certain chronological, that begin with a certain background to the situation. And so we notice that from the sample, we are told about what happened and the reason why this person had to react the way they did by writing the letter. And then the conclusion is often about a course of action being demanded from the offending party. So we notice from the letter that this person is demanding two things: that the service fee paid for whatever he went in to do should be refunded, and then finally, he also demands an apology from this person that maltreated them. And so this is where we bring today's lesson to a close. I believe you have learned something, and per the readings I asked you to do earlier, you've been able to gather some information of your own, and together you can be able to build a very solid letter of complaint by yourself. Please attend to the task I have attached in the lesson guide, and then see you when I see you again during the lesson. Bye-bye.